Hello mates, welcome to Cloud Kingdom. We've got a StarCraft 2 game here going on this evening. Between, what we've got here, we've got Liquid Sheth starting out in the top right, purple Zerg. He's facing off against Protoss by the name of PvZ Kami in the southwest, the bottom left position here. Looks like these players might know each other. They're yelling at each other in caps. Sheth's a good-mannered guy, so I expect he knows his opponent if he's going to be doing this. He's not the kind of guy to be teasing on strangers. He's got a probe heading off right away. Going to set down this pylon. 9 pylon. We can expect him to wall off the top of this ramp here. Ramp if you're Australian. Speaking of Australian, I want to give a shout out to my mate Malaysian Genocide. And while I'm at it, I'll give a shout out to Yunki Hong, buddy of mine. He's a good supporter of this StarCraft nonsense. South Korean bloke. What have we got going on here? Liquid Sheth. He's doing basic Zerg things. He's going to be scouting with his first Overlord, sending it right on down to the southwest. Take a look about, see what he can see. See what this Protoss is up to. Make sure he's not doing anything cheesy, which he's not, but it's a good safe thing to do anyway. Back at home, Chef's got his spawning pool down quite early. 13 now, so that's a 14 pool. I mean, it's not too early, but 15 is standard, so he did sneak it out a bit earlier than you'd think he might need to. We'll see if he's going to come down and make an expansion right away. I'd say he's not scouting with this for sure. He wants to get there before the Protoss can come and block it with his worker, but they're going to duke it out for a minute here. The Zerg looks like it's got the first hit on this battle, so he's going to be he's got the small advantage with his health. Ah, and look at that. Bloody well drops down a pylon to block that expansion from going down. We'll see him chase him away, but what's he going to do as a result? He's chased him to this third position. Normally this is where the third expansion would go down. When the natural expansion is blocked, sometimes they'll run out and put their second down here in the third instead, just to prevent the headache, and that's exactly what he's done. So Sheth a little bit delayed, but he did get his second down. Meanwhile, this probe is going to hunt around, make sure there's nothing else fishy going on. He's got 1 gas coming up. Everything else looks pretty standard. He's got 4 Zerglings out on the field at the moment. They're going to run down and poke around, see if they can't do a little bit of minnow harass, but I don't think they're going to be able to get in here. This wall, there's a pretty good wall here. There's one little gap for units to pass through, but this Zealot I think is going to get there before the Zerglings do, before the Zerglings come down and fill that out. And rightfully so, there he is, Bob the Zealot. He's going to stand here, he's going to be held. Hold position will keep any units from being able to run past him. Except for workers who can skip through units. When you see this, when you see a unit blocking off a wall like this, workers can actually skip through them by right-clicking on the mineral field here and what they call mineral walking through the unit. They become impervious to unit blocking, but that won't be the case for these Zerglings if they come poke around. So we've got 2 base Zerg versus a 1 base Protoss. Pretty standard stuff so far. Supplies looking nice and even. We see the Protoss is going for a really quick Stargate. I'm not sure, maybe some Void Rays going to be popping out here. He's actually moved his Zealot forward, so a tricky Zerg scout could actually make it through here and poke around, but it looks like that's not going to be happening for the time being. So he's got a Stargate coming out. We'll see what he's going to be making out of it. Okay, he's going Phoenix, so he'll be able to do a good bit of scouting with a Phoenix. He'll be able to perhaps do a bit of mineral line harass against his opponent, but more importantly than that is he's actually thrown down a second expansion himself. So that's going to put them on even base. Oh, I take that back. A little bit of a battle here between a couple of Zerglings and some defenders, but good job on this sentry here. He got a force field down on that ramp to prevent the Zerglings from getting up and scouting this Stargate. Behind all this, of course, Sheth has cleared away that pylon blocking his natural expansion. He's got a 3rd base down. It's extremely standard for Zerg to be 1 base ahead of their opponent, so this is exactly where Sheth needs to be just to keep it even. We can see him cranking out an evolution chamber just to get some upgrades rolling in a moment. Still just working off this one gas, but he's kept it fully saturated, so not necessarily going for a super tech-heavy build, but wants to move into something eventually. What have we got here? We've got about 20 Zerglings coming to pick on this expansion from the Protoss. The wall is sort of in a... Okay, yeah, it is a full wall off here. I wasn't sure if that was a full wall off, but it appears that it is. He's got a few gateways down and a forge blocking this off, but these Zerglings are going to pick away at it while there's no ranged units here for the Protoss to fight them away. And they've done a decent amount of damage to a couple of these buildings, but nothing terribly permanent. We'll see these shields be knocked back, but not a whole lot of hull damage to these buildings, so he may have forced out a couple more sentries than the Protoss intended to get out, but nothing major, no harm done. Meanwhile, we've got a pack of 3 Phoenix flying in. We'll see if they're going to pick up some workers and shoot them down. Sheth is totally expecting this. He's got spore crawlers on the way, but they're not quite finished. He may be able to knock off these 3 overlords and put Sheth in a bit of a supply block situation. Bit of micro here to keep the damaged one from taking more hits from these spore crawlers and that queen. Meanwhile, this Protoss base sits here relatively unscathed, just a few Zerglings standing outside checking it out, making sure nothing fishy happens. Got a liftoff on this queen here, and that's going to be terrible for Sheth. He's reliant upon these queens not only for air defense and melee defense, but also because primarily they're there to inject larvae into these hatcheries to increase production. And without inject larvae, he's only going to be producing 3 units at a time from this hatchery instead of up to 7 or 8 even, I think. So big deal for Sheth. He'll certainly be looking to replace that right away. He's upgrading to layer at the moment, and he won't be able to do any queen production until that's finished, unless he brings it in from another base. Supply looking pretty even. The Protoss has a good amount of money sitting around. He's got 500 minerals now. He was at 700 just a moment ago. We see him cranking out a robotics bay and ground level 1 upgrades for his melee units. The Zerg, Sheth, he's putting out an overseer to prevent against any Dark Templar rushes that may be coming. He's also droning up quite hard, adding another evolution chamber and roach warren and Hydralisk Den. So he's getting all his tier 2 units out here right away. Good amount of queens here defending, but I think they've actually turned away this big group of Phoenix here, so that's good for Sheth. Meanwhile, just droning away. We see the Protoss back at home. He's now warping in his robotics support bay, and that's going to mean that his robotics facility here is certainly going to be used for Colossus, which is outstanding against ground troops. We'll see him probably start getting that range upgrade for them as soon as the robotics bay finishes. That extends their range by 2 or 3, which is significant. And then they're doing huge splash damage against ground units. And a couple of those, mixed in with some Stalkers and some Zealots, is a horrible, nasty death ball for the Protoss. And will be something of great concern for Sheth to have to deal with in the not too distant future. Sheth is, of course, just being a Zerg and expanding some more. We see a 4th coming up for him now. And even a macro hatch, so that's going to be his 5th hatchery. The macro hatch serves no purpose as far as collecting minerals or gas. He just needs it for that extra larva, like I was talking about earlier, to get out more and more units. A good amount of creep connecting his 2nd base and his 3rd base. We can probably surmise that he's going to continue this 4th over to connect his 4th, and then 4th to his 4th, and then onwards towards his opponent's base. All Zerg ground units are faster when they're standing on creep, of course, so that makes it easier for defense and offense. 5 spine crawlers coming down, so that's some good static defense to lay down in front of the chokehold towards his main and his natural bases. Anything that has to come into his base is going to have to pass all these, and they're pretty nasty to have to deal with. The PvZ Kami, he's taking his 4th now as well, so that's gonna... Oh, I'm sorry, that's his 3rd. He's just taking his 3rd right now. So he'll remain 1 base behind the Zerg, which of course is quite typical. We see that the supply count is starting to split apart, as we would expect it to at this point in the game. The PvZ is 10 to 15 units behind the Zerg, and that's not abnormal. That's kind of expected, and that's what's happened here. This 4th for Sheth is actually unable to be populated right at the moment because these Phoenix are hanging around right about there. If any workers came in to try and mine these minerals, they'd be picked up and shot apart from the sky. A good looking roach push coming out. I'm not sure if he's just scouting with these to make sure there isn't a secret 4th base around here in the back. He may poke around all the way down to this southern corner just to make sure nothing fishy is happening, but no, it looks like he's going to continue pressing on and put on some pressure here at the PvZ's brand new 3rd base. There's nothing here to defend. Oh, I take that back, his army wasn't too far away at all. He's got zealots, stalkers, sentries, and then a couple of those colossi in the back. They're going to wreak some havoc here on this roach and zergling army, but see a whole lot of force fields coming down from the PvZ. He locked in quite a good amount of Zerg units here, and they had nowhere to run. So they did manage to take down this base. That's going to cost another 400 minerals to replace, and more importantly than that, the time that it takes to rebuild it, which is, I'm not even sure how many minerals that is, but you can imagine maybe, I think it's 40 minerals per worker per minute. And there was at least 10 to 12 workers there, and he's going to be delayed another 1 to 2 minutes, so significantly more money than even the cost of the base itself has been lost. But also all those roaches and zerglings as well, so we'll see. Let's take a look at the units lost and the resources lost. Oh, not even close. Sheth's getting his ass punched right here. 4,100 resources lost for the Zerg player, 2,300 for the PvZ. And we would normally expect that the Zerg units, well, the Zerg player will have had a larger amount of resources lost because they're kind of weaker units, they're disposable, the Zerg's supposed to have more bases, they're supposed to have more income, but not that amount, not almost, 50% more lost. That definitely says that Kami might be in the lead here. We'll have to see how this plays out from this point on. Meanwhile, just a tremendous amount of zerglings. 3 pages, look, of zerglings coming in. They're going to get a cancel on this 4th. They're going to secure perhaps even this 3rd. They'll be able to overrun that, I think, if he came down here and pushed on it. Or perhaps knowing that the PvZ's army was down here, he intends to push in for the 2nd. Not getting through this chokehold right here. A couple of gateways and some destructible debris going to keep them back. They'll have to destroy all these rocks if they want to pass through here, and that's just not going to happen right now. The army's already had time to move its way back to reinforce this position. Meanwhile, he's got a Phoenix out here poking around, keeping eyes on things, so Kami knows exactly what's going on. Let's take a look back at our production tab. We see Corruptors, upgrade level 1 Carapace, and I think, what is that? Adrenal Glands. That's going to be the Zergling attack damage buff coming out for the Zerg. The PvZ is working on shield upgrades now, having been 1 armor and 2 damage upgrades already. He just popped out a mothership somewhere. Here we go. That's quite an early mothership. Powerful endgame unit here for the PvZ. He's going to be able to keep this whole little death ball here invisible, or at least cloaked. And also start working on that energy towards having a good vortex or a mass recall, whatever he needs, some extra utility to add to this group here. And I don't know, he's just about maxed out on his army supply. He's going to add this 4th base down again and perhaps move out and try and catch this Zerg unprepared for an invisible army. We see the PvZ is working on High Templar and Storm, so he may be trying to add on the Storm buff will obviously be important for big Zergling groups. He already has Archons out here, so he's maybe been making High Templar or Dark Templar already that maybe I've missed. It must have been High, yeah, definitely been High Templar, not Dark Templar. The Zerg, on the other hand, is building a 2nd Spire. so he can work on double air upgrades. He's got this Greater Spire for Brood Lords. It's a long-ranged air siege unit. He's getting upgrades for these as well. Level 1 flyer attacks. He's getting level 1 flyer carapace as well as level 2 ground carapace and level 3 ground melee. So Sheth is going all out with his upgrades here, and going to be spending quite a pretty penny doing so, but he's already got a maxed out army, so what else is he supposed to be doing with that money, I suppose? No better use for it than to upgrade the units he's already got. At this point in the game, what are we, 21 minutes through the game already? Haven't seen a whole lot of great skirmishes. Here we come, some Zerglings poking away, trying to break their way through these rocks and make their way into the natural expansion of the Protoss. But once again, they've hit a second wall. No, there's a big gap there. My mistake. These Zerglings have free run. But, of course, the main has already been mined out for this Protoss. So there's no worker line back here for them to jump onto. He will pick off some workers here at the natural. And perhaps... Has this been cleaned up yet? No, he's going to get this Templar archives here. So that's going to stop Templar production for a moment. No, he does not get it down. Very good. Kami manages to knock those Zerglings down before they really accomplish anything. They didn't kill workers. They didn't take out buildings. He does have 4 more here trying to knock it down its last legs. And... fucked it in its arse. I said the F word. Both armies looking pretty well maxed out. That's just one more thing that the Protoss will have to add on. He'll have to rebuild that Templar archives, but that's not a big deal. He's already got all the units he needs right now. He's got a well reinforced 4th base. Lots of cannons guarding this. Nothing that half a dozen or a dozen Zerglings are going to be able to do here, but he's going to keep at it. You got to love him for being persistent, Sheth. He's trying and he's trying. What's that? Fleet Beacon, Robotics Bay, but no, I think this Colossus here is going to knock him down pretty quickly. I'm not sure there's going to be anything he's going to accomplish. Kill a couple of probes, perhaps, but, I mean, if you look at the mineral patches here at this base, there really wasn't much left. Sheth now has taken his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got macro hatch. He's got 7 hatcheries. He's on 6 base, so he's... Economically, you'd think he'd be quite far ahead of his opponent, and if we look at the numbers, they're both sitting on just a ton of money. 3,000 minerals apiece, 1,600 gas banked up for the Protoss, and not so much gas left for Sheth. As we can see, he's dumped it into every buff that he could ever get in the entire game. Tunneling Claws. What's this? Ground Carapace 3, Fly Carapace 2, Flyer Attacks 2, Ventral Sacs, that's Overlord Transport. He's getting, what else? Zerg Missile Attacks level 3, that's for Roaches and Hydralisks. He's morphing 6 Banelings. He's getting Tunneling Claw. He's getting fucking everything. The Protoss is getting his level 3 weapons upgrade, so it looks like these guys are trying to do the battle of the ages here. Just get your perfect 200 supply army, upgrade it as far as it will go, and then meet at the flagpole at noon and whoop each other's ass. I'm not sure what these 4 stalkers here from Kami are doing. I don't know if they were just scouting, if they were trying to threaten this base, or if he's clearing up supply so that he can replace them with more important units, which is something that people definitely do. What have we got here? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, what has he done? He's got these infestors. He's got Neuroparasite on the mothership, and he's wasted half of its energy. He's taken control of this Protoss unit and then pissed away all its money, all its energy. He's going to destroy it and cost all that money, and now the Protoss has lost everything. He's lost that mothership. He's lost the supply it was worth. He's lost his cloaked army. He's lost 2 vortexes that he had saved up to use against his opponent. It's all gone now, and the Zerg is... I mean, he's very clever. Look what he's done now. He's sieged up with his Brood Lords. Got half a dozen, 8 Brood Lords here, sieging up this 4th base. He's going to clear through that impervious to any attack because he's so far away. He's got a big group of infestors who are going to try and get fungal growth on this Protoss army. These Corruptors are anti-air, which means they're strong against Colossus. And Colossus is really what this Protoss is banking on right now, especially now that he's lost his mothership. Everything's out in the open and ripe for the killing. He needs that Colossus range to reach out and touch somebody. and he just can't do it at the moment. Both players, however, are staying at about maxed army. They've both got all the money in the world, so they're able to replace all the units that they're losing as quickly as they can. It's just a matter of clicking a button and back on the map they are. Monetarily, everything is even. Army supply is even. Everyone's on high-tech units. The Zerg, however, has got a really good position with these Broodlords out here, and he's just sieging up the 3rd now and trying to clean it out just as he did the 4th. The Protoss hasn't been able to replace that mothership yet, and that's a giant weakness for this Protoss army. And look at this, flanking with a big group of Corruptors. We're going to say goodbye to these 4 Protoss Glossite here. The Infestors are spitting out a big old group of infested Terrans here, which are really just like buffed Marines, buffed Terran Marines. Although it looks like the Protoss has wisely pulled back just to have wasted these units. They dissolve after a few moments, so walking away from them and then coming back to engage again is a smart way of avoiding all that damage. It looks as though the Zerg has really pulled this out though. The supply is dwindling quickly for this Protoss. 54 supply to 170. It's like he's lost it. Losing that mothership did him no favours whatsoever, and there it is. It's GG. Kami taps out. 240 supply at the end of the game. Despite having all that money in his bank, he just couldn't get an army out fast enough to recover. And so that's it. Sheth takes a win. Thanks for watching. I've been Inglewood of Killing Esports, where the casting is so bad that we're literally killing esports. And this has been my fake British accent. See you next time.